Hello, and it is your favourite time of the week here on National League Natter. It is the National League Natter Match Day 20 preview. I can't believe I'm saying 20 already. You know what I mean? It's creeping upon us. Nearly halfway through the season. It is ridiculous. But as always, I am joined by I was gonna say my favorite podcast co-host, but that might be a little bit unfair on Chris. But I'm gonna double down on it and say my
Oh,
favorite podcast co-host.
too kind,
Um,
too kind.
Lauren, how are you? How have you been this week?
Busy as always. I feel like that's always my answer, but doing good.
Always.
Excited for another match day in the National League. But I'm doing good. How are you doing, Aaron?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. Obviously, this is interesting because it's quite a shortened. Well, I think it's a shortened program. There's like maybe 4 games that aren't on in the program this weekend because some National League teams obviously progressed through to the second round of the FA Cup, and it's FA Cup weekend this weekend, including my boys. So we'll touch upon it a little bit, but we're probably gonna just throw them in the predictions as a little bit of a bonus afterwards, aren't we?
Yeah, get a few extra points in there.
Exactly. But to start us off, Lauren, shall we have a quick look back at the Tuesday and Wednesday game week? Because obviously we always just like to do a little bit of a tiny review when there's been a game week on a week that we're recording.
Yes, absolutely.
So let me just get my stuff together. Like I should be well prepared, but I am not. Well, so starting on the Tuesday, then I guess the biggest result on the Tuesday was probably Altrincham's 3-0 home win against league leaders at the time, York City. Now, this one obviously real big surprise, but also the one thing I will like to say is it's not that I've seen it coming, but even in some of the games that York have won in the last couple of weeks. Mainly, actually, this is going to sound really strange, but I watched them beat Hartlepool a few weeks ago on DAZN, 5-3 at home. And don't get me wrong, going forward, they look dynamite, but I did think Hartlepool wasted a good few chances, and on another day it could have been a different score. Maybe Hartlepool could have got a draw or whatever. So I think there's been signs of them stepping off the gas a little bit in the last couple of weeks up until this point, even though they've still been getting the wins. And Altrincham just came, did the business, didn't see them as a threat, and swept them away. Really, it was the Regan Linney show really for Altrincham, and he is a player for me that is. We seem to pick out a couple of these a week, but I think he's far too good for this level. I think he's a real good. He could be a real good, comfortable League Two level striker for me. And I don't think that the coincidence is that Altrincham have started to pick up form since he started to find his goal scoring form again. The two kind of go in hand. But from a sort of first of all, from a sort of York perspective in terms of the title race, it's completely kind of opened it up a little bit, hasn't it? Obviously, we were just speaking off camera. There's 4 or 5 teams that are like within 5 points of the top at, at this stage before Christmas. It's kind of unheard of, isn't it?
Yeah, it's ridiculously close at the moment. Literally, I mean, if Oldham, your boys, win their game in hand, which will be extended again, there'll be a second game in hand after this weekend, but like they'll be on 40, which would be 43, 42, 41, and 40 as the top 4. Like it's ridiculous at this point in the season just how close it is. And obviously its forms are changing. York have lost 2 now. Obviously they won at the weekend, but the Tuesday game and then the one before that, you see little bits of form sort of dropping here and there. I think it's going to be a really interesting going through up until the January transfer window, basically, to see what sort of happens.
Yeah, I agree. I think January will be an interesting time because obviously with the National League we don't have a window as such.
Yeah, but
Players can still get registered up until March, at the end of March, I believe. But obviously there will be movement in that window, so I think it's going to be a real exciting, important part of this title race. But just moving on to a couple of other fixtures from the Tuesday, specifically that I'm looking at here. Again, I have to give my flowers to the team that we didn't end up playing last weekend, but went away to Gateshead with 10 men and pulled out a stellar performance to get the 1-0 win away from home at Rochdale. They had 10 men for a very, very large portion of this game, and they hung on and had some defensive heroics and got the job done, really. I think Gateshead will be obviously, I mean, losing at home against any team will be a disappointment, but to do it against 10 men is almost not unforgivable because I don't really know the circumstance of the game because I didn't watch it much. But, you know, with a team like Gateshead and the sort of the style of football that they play, you would have expected them to be able to unlock the door of a 10-man defence. But look, Rochdale held in there, held really strong, and they are kind of sort of they're very, very they're very, very inconsistent at the minute, Rochdale, from what was a very, very start of the season, and you know they were like winning more or less every week at certain points. They have now lost one, lost one, lost one in the last 6. So you can guarantee that the game on sorry, they don't play on Saturday. I was going to say if they were to play on Saturday, you could guarantee that that'd be a loss with the way that form was going. But I think obviously that is a great result for Rochdale, and it kind of eases the pressure if there was any sort of pressure on Jim McNulty, as daft as that sounds, because I know some of the fans have been getting a little bit upset over the last couple of weeks with like the way they've been playing and performing. But to do that against a very good Gateshead side is a really impressive, isn't it? And it puts them so it gives Rochdale a 3-point buffer now into the playoff spaces, and they are only 4 points off Gateshead in 5th. And they obviously have that game in hand, same as us, because it was the derby that got postponed to create that game in hand. But what are you thinking about? Like, what are you thinking about Rochdale? And obviously the sort of real big start, but the sort of inconsistent last few weeks, and how big of a result do you think that could be for their season going forward on the right side of Christmas?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I vividly remember us right at the beginning of the season being like, you know, hate to say it, but giving credit to Rochdale. They've been playing really well. They've been, you know, getting some good form behind them. And I do think there's a couple of teams now in the league that are getting a bit more inconsistent. I think they're still in a pretty good place, right? They're 6th in the league. They're in the playoffs. They're going to be happy with that. And I think beating Gateshead, who are just literally just above them in the league, is massive, especially at this point. Like, you do want to be in and around it this side of Christmas. So I think a 1-0 away win at Gateshead will really boost the squad, really.
Yeah.
And again, Rochdale also have a game in hand. So they'll be I think that's a really good result for them. I mean, obviously a win's always a good result, but like it's a particularly good result against a team that's only just above them in the league, and in and around that area that they'll be battling out probably until the end of the season with.
From a Gateshead point of view, just very quickly, obviously it's been a little bit inconsistent for them over the last couple of weeks. Over the last 4 fixtures in the league, they've had a loss, a draw, a win, and now another loss. Obviously the style of play, they've had a new manager recently. I still expect them to be well. Obviously, they still have that 7-point buffer between themselves and Halifax, but Halifax do have that game in hand. Do you think it's just a case of like not complacency, but because they probably know how good of a football inside they can be, and they have got that gap? Maybe they're just kind of taking it a little bit easier, and maybe being at fault and taking the foot off the gas a little bit over the last couple of weeks.
I mean, possibly. You've got all of the stuff off the pitch sorted now, so they know for a fact that they're not going to have the same situation they did. I can't remember whether it was last season or the season before, where they weren't able to participate in the actual playoffs. So I think, like, now that they know that that's out of the way, I think we will see them try and pick it up again. But maybe it is just a case of like you do have a bit of a buffer. I wouldn't say it's complacency. I think as well you've got to just think about To be fair, their losses haven't been against people you'd expect them to lose to. Or File beating them 3-0, drawing against the Shots. I don't know. I might have I expected Rochdale maybe to beat them. That's not a surprise. Nor is the win against Maidenhead. I think it's just sort of, I don't really know. You start getting tired legs at this point in the season as well, because games are coming thick and fast.
Especially if you don't have the sort of the riches of being able to have lots of squad depth.
Yeah, exactly. Like it is the part of the season where just it is every Tuesday, every Saturday. You've got all your cups being played and your league games. It probably is just a bit of tiredness creeping in, and they need to just sort of click back into some good form.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And then the last one of the Tuesday, before we very, very briefly touch upon the Wednesday fixtures, I think it would be very, very irresponsible of me as an Oldham fan to talk about how my boys just keep allowing me to take my expectations to the moon at the minute. And I said to you, didn't I, on Tuesday night, and you grounded me quite quickly. You was like,
I did.
and you went, this is no disrespect to Boston, but I was buzzing. I was absolutely buzzing. I was like, we could actually like win the league. And Lauren just texted back, to be fair, it was only Boston. It was expected. And I just thought, wow,
Yeah.
that's a bit of a kick in the stomach. But
it sounds quite cruel. The way you've said that makes it sound horrible. But you were going off about how you're going to win the league on the back of this win, and I was like, we talked last week about how Boston sort of, they're struggling. They've just got a new manager in, and we did see on the Saturday the manager bounce, but it wasn't the most surprising result.
To be fair to myself, I would just like to give myself a little bit of credit. I didn't just say we were going to win the league just off the back of that result. I said, like, if you look at our season so far, we've only lost 2 in 24 in all competitions, 2 in 19 in the league, and we are the team on top of the form table over the last 10 games in the division now. It's like we were just talking about other teams starting to show a bit of inconsistency. It seems like we're getting all our key players on the pitch at the same time and really starting to put it together. And like, I like kind of being in the back of the radar. People are talking about Forest Green, people are talking about Barnet, people are talking about York. I like being sort of that ones that people don't talk about, but also it's not frustrating me, but I do think people probably need to realise that this could potentially be a 4-5 team horse race and not just a 3-team race, because the thing is as well, we've got quite a kind fixture list coming up. We've got Ebbsfleet to play at home in the next couple of weeks. We've got obviously we have York on Boxing Day, which will be massive, but then we have like Maidenhead to play at home. We've got quite a kind fixture list, so I really am starting to get a little bit of belief, and for an Oldham fan to say that, it's a really, really weird thing, because I've just been used to being depressed as shit for like the last 20 years,
Yeah, I feel that.
But on to Wednesday then. Obviously, our title rivals played on two of them played on Wednesday. You had Barnet versus Yeovil, and Barnet came out on top in this game with a 2-1 win against Yeovil. Now, I know Chris went to this game because I seen it on his socials, and he said at periods of that game they kind of rode the luck, and that's kind of them sorts of games where champions are made. If you don't play well but you still pick up the results, that they can be important in these type of run-ins and these type of games. And I think it's a big result for Barnet, especially considering we've thrown questions at them in the last couple of weeks of them sort of maybe losing too many at this point or conceding too many goals. To like just carry on pressing on and playing the way that they do and get the results, I think is important. But then to couple with that, Forest Green slipped up. Well, not slipped up. They still got a point, but compared to everyone else around them winning, they slipped up. Obviously, they only got a point on Wednesday evening, and like I said, it just adds to the league being blown wide apart, doesn't it?
I know I've already said this, but it does feel so nice having an actual battle at the top. We've mentioned a couple of times throughout the podcasts that like previous years, it's just been there's been a runaway or there's been like 2 runaways. Like this year, it's so nice. It's a proper battle. It's the way it should be, and it's like it's absolutely just Forest Green only picking up the 1 instead of the 3 takes Barnet on top, and it's exciting. Like literally, if any of those results had changed, the top 3 would have changed around. Like it's that close. It's that close.
Right.
One result makes such a difference at the moment. I just love it. So
You're
exciting.
right. It's definitely exciting for the neutral. I mean, I'd like to be. There's a part of me that wishes. Obviously, there's a part of me that's absolutely loving Oldham being in there, but my nerves get shot to pieces every time we play a game at the minute. So there's a part of me that wishes I could experience it out of my body to see it as a neutral, because I can imagine it's very exciting. But for the fans that are involved in it, it's already nerve-shredding, and we're not at the business end of the season yet. So them nerves are only going to get bigger and bigger, I guess. Just while we finish on this segment, before we look ahead to Saturday's games, if I had to put the pressure on you and you give me a title winner as of now and a reason and a playoff winner.
Okay. Right. I'm gonna go Forest Green to win it.
Yeah.
I think like everyone's gonna go back to my first pod of this season and go, she's absolutely, she's changed her mind, because obviously I said that I think Forest Green would be sort of like not just missing out on the playoffs, but the way that they've really, done a good job. I've been impressed by them, and I've seen them play us recently as a Stockport fan, and we won, but not. We're now League One, and I thought they did a decent job of themselves, really. Do I want to big you up? I could see Oldham winning playoffs. I could see it.
Listen, I think at this point, as long as we get out of this division this season, I'll be happy. Many ex-footballers and fans say that if there's a way to win it, you want to win it by the playoffs. I don't know whether I agree with that because of my nerves. Not as a fan.
Not as a fan.
I was going to say, I can see the excitement of, going to Wembley and winning it at Wembley. Probably the euphoria around that is crazy, but I'd much rather have the title.
It's horrible losing at Wembley.
Yeah,
I can say.
I don't think you'd ever see me again. To be fair, I'd just be crying in my bed for months and months and months.
I did cry on the way home when Stockport lost at Wembley. I put my hand up. I did cry.
I see. That's why I still believe we can go for that title, just because I can't put myself through that mental pain and fortitude, But there we go. So that's Lauren's predictions. I would do predictions, but obviously mine are going to be a little bit skewed, so I don't want to be classed as biased. But I might do them anyway. So obviously, I think we have a good chance of winning the league. But I am also, I cannot believe I'm going to say this, but I have a feeling that because it's the way it always has to be, if Oldham have a bit of success, Rochdale have to follow right behind. And I feel like that what I'm trying to say is whichever one wins the league or whichever one gets up by the playoffs, the other one will go up with them. So I think Rochdale win the playoffs if Oldham win the league. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Nice.
And that means I'll be stuck in the 4th tier with some great frenemies. But listen, we are 20 minutes into the podcast. We have the cheek to label this as a preview and not done much previewing yet. So shall we get to it, Lauren?
Let's do it.
So this weekend, as we were saying before, is a slightly shortened National League fixture list because there is still 4 teams from the National League representing us very proudly in the Emirates FA Cup second round this weekend. So in the league this week, and we have Braintree versus Gateshead, Ebbsfleet versus Boston. That is already sticking out to me as well.
Massive.
There's massive, and then there's whatever that game is. And then you've got Halifax versus Southend, Hartlepool United versus Boston, Sutton versus Fylde, Woking versus Yeovil, and York City versus Maidenhead United. What's interesting about this fixture list is there is no early kickoff and there is no late kickoff. They are all 3 o'clock kickoffs. I'm guessing that's to do with the FA Cup coverage on TV.
Almost definitely.
So, like I said, not a lot to go off here, but a couple of the ones that are sticking out to me for obvious reasons are Ebbsfleet versus Boston. I'm going to call this the Desperation derby at this point. Like I almost feel like this is a game where the winner literally had the winner of this has to win it to give themselves just a faint chance at this point. Normally we would say the winner of this can go on and pull themselves clear, but they're both well within the mire at the minute and well sort of behind that dotted line, that dreaded dotted line. So I think it's a must win for both of these teams. So I couldn't see either of these managers setting out to play for a point in this game, Lauren, put it that way, could you?
No, I think I see that. I think a win for Boston would be more useful. Like, I hate to say it, but where Ebbsfleet are, even 3 points only puts them on 11, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I think if Boston can win this, I mean, it changes nothing for the league table, but at least it gives them the smallest chance of building their way out. Because the teams above them obviously are like 4 or 5 points above them at the moment, but in theory, it's doable. You can, if anyone's watching rather than listening, you can see my face, which is really trying here to.
I agree, to be fair, because obviously at least Boston are sort of in the fight, and they have the chance. Obviously, they're a lot behind at the minute, and they could pull it around. But I'm going to ask you a question now here, just on the basis of I hate to have found another Oxford City the season after straight away, but if you were a betting woman, what percentage chance would you give Ebbsfleet of survival from this point, even before Christmas?
Oh goodness, because it is horrible. It's horrible to see a team like this. Like we say, we felt really bad every week last year, going Oxford are right at the bottom, but I actually just can't see it at all. Maybe like a 3% chance. I would love them to go and prove me wrong.
I thought you was going to at least get into double figures.
What you think? I hate to say it, but like if you look at their form, loss, draw, loss, right? They're at 8 points after 19 games.
Yeah.
Like, it feels really horrible to say it, but I just can't see them basically winning enough and everyone above them losing enough to displace them. Because that's the other thing. Like, even if they win, or like they are required games, it would require everyone else to also be losing, like, a lot.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And it's awful because the thing is, Ebbsfleet fans hold on to this because if somehow in previous seasons you've managed to pull it out the fire when the card's been against you, so maybe we are stupid to write you off at this point. But just with the gaps and the points, so like against you, I feel like if you did pull this off, it would be the greatest comeback story and the greatest secure of safety in any English football division that I can think of.
It would be immense. It would deserve its own documentary. Is what it would.
Yes.
But yeah, I would love them to prove me wrong. I would absolutely love them to prove me wrong. And that usually happens in football. Anything I say, usually the opposite happens. So maybe you guys will go on to build your way out of the.
They'll win the next 8 games on the spin now.
That'd be awesome. I'd love that.
Could you imagine? So just some others that stick out to me, obviously Hartlepool, Barnet, and I think that's a trickier game for Barnet than people are letting on because, like I said, the couple of games I've seen of Hartlepool this season, one of them was away to York, and they did get beat 5-3. But I thought Hartlepool played very well in patches, and on another day could have got something from the game. And I slowly think Hartlepool are beginning to sort of pick it up and pull themselves not just away from the danger, because he started really, really slowly. But they are actually only 2 points off a playoff place. So it's not going to be an easy game for Barnet at all. Really, Hartlepool have they're going into this 3 unbeaten, and they've won the last 2 league games as well. So both of us might expect Barnet to win this game, of course, because they are the league leaders and they are right up there for a reason. But I don't think it's as black and white as people might think it is.
Yeah, I think on paper it looks like it would be a slight walkover, but I would agree. I think Hartlepool will be coming into this with a bit of confidence. Like you've just mentioned their form there, 3 unbeaten, and I think that especially with them, I think you could see them trying to get something here, especially being at home. I wouldn't be surprised if Hartlepool come away with some points from this game. As much as it does look like Barnet will just, have an easy day out. I would not be surprised if we see some points picked up here for Hartlepool.
Yeah, I agree. And then the last one I wanted to touch upon, just before we head into the sponsor break, is Braintree versus Gateshead, and this one to me has a couple of extra layers on it, because obviously Gateshead are looking for a response from the bad performance against Rochdale midweek, but obviously Braintree have just parted with their manager. Now, I don't know how to feel about this one, because I know Braintree put a lot of money into this team in pre-season. They have a strike force of Inief Young and John Kendi on the books. They're 2 sort of National League powerhouses, strikers, if you would, in previous years, and they have got money there, so I can understand it. But also, I do think it's quite harsh, because they are well within the fight to stay up. It's not like they're adrift. I know they're in there currently, but like we were saying before, unless your name is Boston or Tamworth, sorry, not Tamworth, Boston or Ebbsfleet, any of them other teams from maybe 19th to 22nd have a big fighting chance of pulling themselves away. So it seems a strange decision to me, but I'm sure the board have their own reasons in private that they might have. But what were your thoughts on this debacle, Oz?
Yeah, I mean, Braintree are, like, as of right now, outside of the relegation zone. I mean, they are on equal points with 21st, but I think I get it, right? I get if you're not sort of steaming away and you've put a load of money in, you want something, you want some sort of change, and maybe the team thinks that the way that they're going to muscle their way out of that sort of, like at the moment, they are on the edge. There's only 3 goal difference between them and the relegation, and that's it. Maybe they think that a new manager could come in and give them that boost they need. But I don't know. I mean, the manager they've just sacked helped them get through the playoffs in the National League South. So you'd expect some sort of
Like
loyalty with that.
I was going to say, I think he should have at least earned the chance to like the end of January, maybe.
Do you think?
Especially
Yeah, I think.
Especially if they have money like we think they have money with their accusations in the summer. Maybe they could have dived again in January and had a look and recruited and whatever else. I don't think they're out of it at all, Braintree, and it just seems a very, very strange decision to me, because yes, they could bring in an experienced appointment now and completely pull away from them danger spots and finish mid-table, and obviously it's job done, then everyone's going to be happy. But also, when you're so close to kind of either side of the line, it can backfire massively, and look, they can pull the trigger, make the change, and they might get worse.
Yeah, I mean the stability of keeping a manager as well can sometimes actually help when you're in that situation, because if you bring in a new manager in, Like, it might throw off the confidence of the team, especially if it's a manager that's helped your team go up. The fans will be behind the manager, or at least want them to have a bit of a go. I think it's interesting. It could be the best thing for them. They could get an appointment in that helps them really sort of sail clear of that relegation zone. But it's quite early, I think, to be pulling something like this.
Yes. We'll have to see whether it's a calculated decision that pays off for Braintree. But we are going to cut to our new sponsors in Audible, and coming back off the end of that ad break, we will be touching upon Lauren's game of the week for this week, the tie of the week in our opinions, and then the all beloved and all important predictions. So we shall be back with you in a couple of minutes. But in the meantime, you will be listening to our friend Jamie from League One Lowdown, and we will be back in a second.
This podcast is in association with Audible, and they bring you a fantastic offer. 99p for 3 months of their subscription. And for that, you also get a £10 voucher to spend on whatever book you want to listen to. It could be Richard Osman's Murder Mysteries. It could be Harry Potter. It could be the heaps of football autobiographies they have on Audible as well. And for 3 months, for 99p, you get 3 months of their service. Terms and conditions do apply, and you can find those below in the description.
Now we are back, and I would just say to finish off that little segment, as a avid audiobook listener and a book reader myself, I think that is a fantastic offer, and it's something that I will definitely be taking upon myself for sure. So yeah, get it while it lasts, and we thank Audible for their offer, and I'm sure you guys, the viewers and the listeners, will benefit very dearly from it. But moving on, shall we assign your game of the week, Lauren, for next week, and the tie of the week in our joint opinion?
Yeah, I mean, we had a bit of a shocker last week, didn't we? Because we assigned 2 games. We assigned the Rochdale Oldham as our tie of the week, and then the Fylde and Ebbsfleet as our Loz's game of the week, both of which that managed to get postponed due to horrendous weather. So hopefully we have a bit of better luck this week. Hopefully. Anyway, I'd like to talk about some games. What are you thinking, Aaron, in terms of our tie of the week?
So, from the limited choice we have, I think the tie of the week's got to be the basement battle, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. They're next to each other in the league, and I do think that what we talked about when we sort of did a brief preview with the fact that if Boston win this, they still put themselves in a chance of getting out. Ebbsfleet need to win this to have any chance, really. As much as I don't want to condemn them to, the big old relegation, I think that it is a must win for both teams, basically. So I think it is. There's a lot riding on this game, and I think that, like you say, I do think that we will see both teams actually come out and really fight for it. They're not just going to try and park the bus.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if one of these two teams played for a point, definitely, in these current circumstances. But this is football. We've seen weirder things, so I'm never going to say never on anything anymore. So then, in terms of game of the week, again, I think, considering the kind of hype we've just given around it, it makes sense to give you the Hartlepool Barnet game.
Why not?
Are you happy enough with that?
Yeah, I'm very happy with the Hartlepool Barnet game. Very happy with that.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, every tie in this set, it's as I say every week, it's such an interesting league, and we could get an absolute screamer of a game within these ties. But I'm more than happy to take the Hartlepool Hartlepool Barnet game. Just wishing away the week there, aren't I?
Yeah, exactly. Let's do it then. So yeah, so next week we will hopefully, weather permitting, of course. Please let all the games be on this week. So Lauren can come with her match and ref review for next week. But Lauren, it is that time of the week. We are past halfway in the podcast. So are you ready? I think you're going to enjoy this one. Something tells me I can't believe what we're about to dissect and discuss here, but it's time for the predictions. Are you ready, Loz?
Oh, I'm so ready. Are you feeling ready, Aaron?
I think so. I mean,
Okay.
I don't think it's really computed just quite yet, but
Yeah. So for those that can see us on YouTube, just have a little nosy at Aaron's face as I tell you this. But I was having a little look at our recent form in the prediction league, Aaron, and
pulled out a form table like we're in the National League.
oh, I'm creating a form table. And it seems to be that you've taken the L the last 4 weeks in a row. At one point, the gap between us, I mean, the first time I won a prediction in this run of wins, it was 87 to me, 115 to you, right? I've won every week for 4 weeks. So now, and if we include last week, I won last week 8 to me, 5 to you. So it was close. All of these have been relatively close. But the score now is 134 to me, 142 for you, which means the gap is officially 8 points. The gap has gone from like 30 odd points to 8 points. The gap. It's
no, the worst thing about this is, yeah, like you guys only see like the hour that we record together, yeah, but I have been giving this girl like weeks and months worth of abuse about how much I can't wait to see her get a tattoo and all this and all that, and I've just I've got complacent. That's what it is. That's what we're talking about. When you've got such a big gap and you have gaps and you don't expect to be caught, you just take your eye off the ball a little bit, and before you know it, your lead has evaporated.
Maybe this is Ebbsfleet. Maybe Ebbsfleet's gonna have a comeback like mine. Maybe.
Jesus, I feel sick.
But so obviously last week we had 3 games postponed. But then I ended up getting 8 points and you got 5. So we've both done, to be fair, we've both been doing quite horrendously at predicting. I remember back in the day we used to get like 12, 14 points a week. But
I think you know what it is. I think we've like last year's one was like a proper little cute forfeit of like just the opposing football shirt, but because we actually like were more comfortable and we know each other better now, we decided to up the stakes this year. And I think because the sort of the forfeit is more terrifying prospect. I think we're trying to play a chess match every week, and that's why we're so low on the scores personally.
The stakes have gone from like 0 to 100.
Listen,
they've absolutely gone mental.
If I'm not all in, I don't want any of it.
Fair enough.
But I went first last week, so you can take the reins and see if you can complete a comeback that can only be compared to Liverpool in Istanbul by the time next week rocks around, and maybe you can be in the lead. So you can take the lead. Just so we're clear as well, just to add a little bit more meat into the predictions, there is currently 4. Was it 4 or 5? I think it was 4. National League teams partaking in the FA Cup this weekend. So we're going to add them into the predictions just for a little bit of fun. So
if you are unaware, the FA Cup games with National League teams in this weekend is Wealdstone against Wycombe Wanderers. We've got Leyton Orient versus Oldham, Burton Albion against Tamworth, and then Solihull Moors against Bromley. So they're our 4 teams, our 4 games this weekend in the FA Cup that include a National League team.
Very nice.
So what my plan is, we're going to do all of the league. Well, I'm going to do all of the league predictions and then the FA Cup predictions.
Yeah.
And then Aaron will do his, and then we will do a final read through, and we will wait until next week when I win again, I guess. Anyway, so
the worst thing about this is, just before you start, is I've learned in the last couple of weeks I'm just better off just staying silent. So like, she's going to be giving it the big one for weeks now, and I can't speak back, because the minute I speak back, you'll just pull further and further away, and it'll just be a disaster.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I need to stop being too sort of excited about it, because I'll get myself, I'll lose, and then you'll come and bite right back. So yeah, I'll calm it down.
But go on, start.
Braintree, Gateshead. We've already said are notoriously they're having a little blip at the moment. But I think they're going to win this one. I think Braintree need the win to sort of continue battling outside of the relegation, given they're on equal points. But I think that Gateshead will get the win here, and it's going to be 2-0 to Gateshead. Nice. In the Ebbsfleet Boston game, obviously our tie of the week, the relegation conundrum, whatever we want to call it, I'm going to... You know what? Even though we say that neither of them are going to be playing for the point, I think they will end up sharing the points here, and I think it's going to be the worst, like the worst outcome for both of them. I think they're both going to go so hard at it that it's going to end up in a draw, and I'm going to call it a 1-1 draw.
Nice.
I'm going to call it 1-1 draw. I think there's going to be a last-minute sort of header equaliser type goal in that game. I don't know who for, but I think one of them's going to go up and then the other one's going to equalise. Halifax versus Southend. Even though Southend are below Halifax, Southend are sort of mid to bottom table, I think Southend's going to get the points here. I just fancy it. I fancy a little bit of an upset. And I'm going to say they're going to win 2-1 against Halifax. Hartlepool, Barnet. Again, I think as much as we said Hartlepool could get the points here, and I absolutely wouldn't be surprised if they do, I think Barnet is going to come away with the win here. But just a 1-0, I think. But I would not be surprised at all if Hartlepool do end up getting points from that game. Sutton Fylde. I hate to say it, Fylde, but you're having a bit of a nightmare at the moment, aren't you? So Sutton are 2 wins in a row. Fylde are sat in 22, 2 losses. Even though they've... I think Sutton are going to win this, basically. That's the long and short of it. And I'm going to call it a 2-1 to Sutton. 2-1 to Sutton. Woking, Yeovil, I think... kind of an expected result. I think Yeovil are going to win this. I'm surprised looking at the form that they've lost 3 in a row, to be honest. But I think they are. I think they're going to get back to winning ways. I think they're going to win that 2-0. York, Maidenhead. I mean, Maidenhead got absolutely done over by Gateshead the other day, 5-0. I know that they beat Braintree during the week, but I still think that York are going to have a good chunk of Maidenhead here. I think that they're going to get
a good chunk.
Yeah, well, 3-0. I think they're going to take a chunk out of them. Not just a little nick, a full chunk. So that's my league predictions. Now in the FA Cup, I hate to say it, I would love Wealdstone to... I love a cup upset. But Wycombe are just absolutely flying in League One right now. Like, it's ridiculous. they're unstoppable. They beat us 5-0. I'm not saying that we're that good, but like it was particularly brutal. And I just can't see anything but a Wycombe win, unfortunately. I'm going to say it's going to be a 2-0. That might be nice. Yeah, 2-0. Now, as much as I don't want to be nice to Aaron, I think Oldham could have a chance against Leighton. I know that Leighton are also a League One team, but they're having a bit of a shocker at the moment. They're just outside of the the relegation zone.
I bet they wish they were outside the playoffs.
Yeah, no, they're just outside the relegation. Oldham we've been talking about their great form at the moment, and they're going to have the confidence to go into this game, I think, especially because other than a round 3 tie, there's not much on the line. So I think that they might just go for it, build up that momentum. Momentum, we always talk about being a massive thing in football. So they're probably just going to have a good go. And I'm going to give it to Oldham, as much as I know that you're also going to do that. I'm going to give it a 2-1. Yes, Aaron, I know. I'm being nice for once.
I will take that.
Now, I'm going to be cheeky here. Everyone knows that I always back a little Tamworth win, even though they're in 15th, and I don't know why I do, but I fancy Tamworth winning this game, against Burton.
Yeah.
We always talk about Tamworth can pull out a result from anywhere, and Burton are struggling at the moment. Burton are struggling. I would really like a Tamworth win, and I'm going to predict it. It's just going to be a 1-0. It's going to be 1-0. And then Solihull Bromley, obviously was Bromley last season?
In here.
Yeah, so Bromley's only just left us. So I think it's going to be a good game. I'm going to call this a 2-2 draw. 2-2 draw.
Nice. Well, then who's going to win on penalties?
Bromley. I want it to be Solihull, but I'm going to call Bromley get the win with the...
To be fair, when it comes to a penalty shootout, I would never really back Solihull after the most recent history on penalties. Sorry, Cal. We do love you.
We do. But yeah, I wanted an exciting result in that game. So
very nice indeed. So, are we ready for me to take on my predictions?
Yes.
Let's do it. So, Braintree, Gateshead, 2-1 to Gateshead.
Nice.
Ebbsfleet, Boston. I'm gonna say I'm gonna be a bit stupid. Mind you, I can't be stupid when you're only 8 points behind me. I can't do it. Can I do it? I can't do it. I don't know. I'm falling apart, Lauren.
You are. You're absolutely crumbling under the pressure.
Oh my God. Listen, I'm a big brave man. I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go for it. 3-2 Ebbsfleet.
3-2 Ebbsfleet. I like it.
Oh. Halifax versus Southend, 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw.
Hartlepool versus Barnet again. The thing is, with Oldham being in the title picture, I'm gonna be, even if I don't want to be, I'm gonna be unconsciously biased for the teams that we're trying to topple. I think I'm gonna do that this weekend. I'm gonna say Hartlepool are gonna upset the apple cart and get a 2-1 home win.
Nice.
Sutton, Fylde, I agree with you. I think this will be 2-0 Sutton.
Nice.
Woking, Yeovil, 1-1.
Okay. Nice little draw there.
York, Maidenhead, 3-0 to York City, unfortunately.
Copycat.
Yes. And then my FA Cup predictions, it will be 4-1 away win to Wycombe Wanderers.
Big scores.
Then we have my boys doing the business in extra time. I think 1-0 away win for Oldham
1-0
Athletic.
away win.
Yeah. And then on the Sunday we have, let me just have a look. We have Burton 3, Tamworth 1, unfortunately.
Oh, you're not back in Tamworth.
And just because I've got to try and make the gap, so I'm gonna go for it. Solihull Moors 2, Bromley 1.
Oof, I like it. I like it. So I will run you through our predictions for this week. So we both have gone for Gateshead to beat Braintree. I've gone 2-0, you've gone 2-1. Ebbsfleet versus Boston. I've gone 3-1 all draw, you've gone 3-2 to Ebbsfleet. Halifax versus Southend. I've gone for a 2-1 win to Southend, you've gone for a 1-1 draw. Hartlepool versus Barnet. I've gone for 1-0 to Barnet, you've gone 2-1 to Hartlepool. Sutton versus Fylde. I've gone 2-1, you've gone 2-0 to Sutton. Woking versus Yeovil. I've gone for a 2-0 win for Yeovil, whilst you've gone for them sharing points 1-1. York versus Maidenhead. We've both agreed that York is going to beat Maidenhead 3-0. When we get to the FA Cup, we've gone Wealdstone will be beaten by Wickham. I've gone 2-0, you've gone 4-1. Leighton versus Oldham. We've both gone for an Oldham win here. 2-1 from me and 1-0 for you. Burton versus Tamworth. I've gone bold. I've gone bold with a Tamworth win, 1-0. You've gone 3-1 to Burton. And then Solihull versus Bromley. I've gone for 2-2 with a Bromley winning on penalties, and you've gone for a 2-1 win to Solihull.
Amazing.
And that's our predictions.
Yeah, and I kind of enjoy these episodes a little bit more, and I'm not gonna lie, when there's two different sets of fixtures that we can talk about, it just seems like there's more football, and that can never be a bad thing, right?
Absolutely.
But like I said, we are at the end of another preview show. The long nights are drawing in now. It's getting darker. We are only less than a month away from Christmas, which is absolutely mind-boggling, really. And yeah, before we know it, we'll be on the running to the end of the league, which is a ridiculous thing to think
crazy.
about. But
Steaming
away, yeah. We have been National League Natter. This has been your National League Natter Match Day 20 preview. And I will see you with Chris back again on Monday for the review and maybe a bit of an FA Cup review as well, depending on how we get on. Me and Lauren will be back as always next Thursday to do the preview. And in the meantime, make sure you listen to all the podcasts wherever you listen to your podcasts. Rate us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple, and make the most of the wonderful Audible offer in the description on the YouTube and on the Spotify. But in the meantime, we will see you soon and see you next week.
Bye, everyone.